Hello, everybody. Welcome in. We are getting everybody into our digital classroom today. I'm so excited to have our next Beautytap talks. We have amazing questions, and please feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and we will get to them at the end. So we got everybody in. I'm sure more will filter in. I want to welcome our expert community into our Beautytap talks for today. It's all about top questions to get answered from a dermatologist. I'm so excited to have our guest on today. Please ask questions in the chat function. And we have a few core topics and questions we already pulled from the Beautytap Expert Community app. And of course, our amazing editor-in-chief, Alicia, has amazing questions. So I'm gonna hand this off to Alicia and let's start the conversation, guys. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Johnny, and welcome everybody from the Beautytap community. So happy you're here. And we are over the moon and so honored to have America's dermatologist, Dr. Tess Mauricio, who is in her San Diego office, her clinic. She also has one in Beverly Hills. So if either of those areas are not too far from you, you know where you can reach her. And we're going to get right into it, but I want to just share also a tiny bit more about Dr. Tess. She's, a revered dermatologist, and she is also from the Stanford School of Medicine. So we are very fortunate to have her to share her expertise with us. We have a lot of really interesting topics and are excited to hear your questions. So let's get right to it, and we're going to just dive right in, Dr. Tess. So we're going to, again, welcome, and if you want to say hi to our community, please.
Yes, well, I'm excited. I'm really honored to be here, and I think Alicia and I have known each other, worked together on a lot of information, educational pieces, and it's my passion. Education is my passion as well, and there's so much in the field of beauty, health, and wellness, that I can share. And like I said, I want to make sure that within this hour, you guys get a lot of great take-home, bullet points that will be meaningful and hopefully share with your audience as well.
Thank you, Dr. Tess. One thing, dermatologists obviously do so much today: aesthetics, anti-aging, and of course, as we can't forget, so important is, being preventative with and conscientious of skin cancers. It's become such an aesthetics field that sometimes people forget, that is one of the most important parts as well. But something very basic that I think people sort of lose sight of is how to give yourself a proper face cleansing. I talk to some people who think just using water is going to do the trick. So we would love to hear from you how we can all get a really solid, proper face cleansing, and keeping in mind, different skin types as well.
Absolutely. I think, understanding what's going on with the skin, and the different layers of the skin is really important when it comes to facial cleansing, because within your lifetime and, throughout the year, even it can fluctuate to, even in days, depending on the amount of stress that you're on, how much makeup you're putting on. So really the idea that we have to take home with facial cleansing is it has to be customized. So the good news is that we do have so many different options now. I think there's too many options. And then most people probably get confused, intimidated, and then they just I'll just wash with water. You know what I mean? There's just too much information. So I think from a dermatologist point of view, it's really, like you said, customizing it based on what's going on with your skin today. And if you looked at my sink, I have different types of cleansers depending on how my skin feels today. In the clinic where I'm using my mask. So now obviously all of us are susceptible to irritation, sensitivity, maskne, acne from masks. And so nowadays, and then now we're in the winter time, right? And so there's less humidity. And so we need to take those into, factor those into how we're going to cleanse our skin. And so especially in the wintertime, I'm really recommending not so much gel, but cream cleanser. So there's different types, right? So gel cleanser, if you have oily, acne prone skin, and you live in a place that has more humidity, more summertime. I just spoke to patients who are in Maui, so maybe, but then they normally live in the Bay Area. She's gonna need different cleansers, right? Because it's totally different environment. So gel cleansers, cream cleansers for more mature skin, to preserve the oil that's there, to not strip the skin from the precious oil, and actually even lock in some of the moisture. So that's basic. And then if you use a lot of makeup, and people in different industries use more makeup right now because we are using the mask, I really try to discourage people from wearing a lot of makeup under their mask. So that is going to really exacerbate your potential for acne and breakouts. But if you do need it, you really need a better cleansing. And people ask me, okay, so do you recommend a cleansing wipe? Some people like cleansing wipe. I actually like to wash my skin with a real cleanser. And then, some people ask, do you want scrubs on top of that? Because then you really feel like it's clean. So scrubs, I think, is great. Exfoliation is great. But we have to be careful again. If you have sensitive type skin, if you have rosacea prone skin, if you have atopic dermatitis or eczema, you may want to use scrubs only once a week. You can move to twice a week. But I would say for me, I would use a scrub in the shower after my cleanser, maybe once or twice a week, depending on how my skin feels. So I think that's kind of the take home message is customize it, probably have different types of cleansers accessible to you, so that depending on how your skin feels, you can adjust. Scrubs are great. If you like cleansing wipe, you can use it. There's also now cleansing oils. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. Cleansing oil, if you do use a lot of more heavy oil-based makeup, cleansing oil can be helpful in removing that. But if you are acne prone, I would stay away from that. Some people are also using just pure, oils like grapeseed oil, coconut oil to cleanse the skin. That's fine. But again, if you're acne prone, you have to be careful. I wouldn't use avocado oil to cleanse. It's too heavy, and it definitely can clog your pores.
I have a quick
Go ahead,
question.
Connie.
Throughout being in this industry, like many of our experts on this call, I think one of the most could be damaging terms is I want to feel clean. I need to feel cleaner. Can I exfoliate, cleanse, feel cleaner? So my question is, what would you say are the top no-nos when it comes to cleansing, or the top things done improperly that affect your clients?
Right. So I think, when patients come to see us, obviously they are having skin issues, and most of the time I tell them to do less. And like you said, most of the time it's really a matter of overusing, whether you have, gel cleansers, scrubs, or putting, things on top of each other. If you're using a glycolic acid wash or a salicylic acid wash, and then you put a toner, and then you scrub to exfoliate, and then you add on your retinol, benzoyl peroxide. So you really have to pull back a lot of times and tell patients, okay, just go with a gentle cleanser, a cream cleanser, a moisturizer, and let's heal the skin, allow it to feel and look normal, and then you can one at a time reintroduce things. But I think we really only need to really wash our skin, our face, twice a day. Especially my acne prone patients who feel like their skin's very oily, they tend to overwash. And that actually can make you more oily. It can activate your sebaceous glands or oil glands compensating for you overstripping the skin from its natural oils.
I agree.
That's such an interesting point that you bring up, Dr. Tess, because years ago I got onto the bandwagon of not being afraid of using oils on my skin, and I have combination, so I'm oily in the T-zone. And the blemish oil that I use to help get rid of the blemishes is an actual oil. So that is interesting, and I'd love to hear a little bit more from you because acne and blemishes are part of our topics. Of course, we know that could be a standalone, but for little breakouts, etc., how oil can help and other types of treatments that you recommend.
So absolutely, as we all know, especially with the mask, breakouts is a huge issue, adult acne as well, especially with women and hormones. And we now really have this correlation with stress, and we are all under a little bit more stress now. And so that's causing breakouts. But as far as products and oils, as dermatologists, we really try to kind of steer patients away from oils if you really feel like you have a tendency to break out. There are patients that don't have any issue. I still do. I still have some hormonal acne in my chin. And so I'm very careful what products I use. And so I think if you have combination to oily and acne breakout prone skin, and maybe before COVID, before the mask, you didn't, but now you do, I would stay away from oils. There are a lot of products available now for people who tend to break out that don't have the risk of clogging your pores, and so that's where I would go.
How important is it to make sure that we use either disposable mask or mask we can sanitize or wash our mask? Do you feel that's pretty important for prevention of acne?
Yes, 100%. Actually, I did a lot of interviews on, mask hygiene and prevention of maskne. And, we really forget how dirty the masks get. And so I definitely recommend if you prefer your more, cotton or silk mask, because it's more gentle to your skin, you have to wash them. Whether you're going to hand wash them or throw it in your wash, they have to be washed. They can pick up a lot of dirt, bacteria, viruses. Residue from makeup gets on it. It kind of gets gross. I mean, this is a disposable mask, and you can see like there's lipstick stain, makeup stain in there, and so you don't see it as well. You won't see it because it's not. Usually your mask, if it's not disposable, it's not white like that. But that can really accumulate and absolutely can increase your risk for breakout.
And what are some of your go-to product recommendations or ingredient recommendations, Dr. Tess? I mean, you've weighed in on so many of our stories where you're on our advisory board, and one of our writers here, Tracy Teal, has interviewed you.
Hi, Tracy.
So we're very grateful to you and your expertise. But yeah, if you could share any certain ingredients to look for, or even brands that you would recommend for whether it's maskne or occasional breakouts. I know hormonal gets into another area, but for those pesky occasional breakouts that I assume most of us get.
Yeah, so I mean, I work with Proactive, and obviously it's a brand that's been around. They're experts if people are really wanting a simple regimen, because I think more than ever we really need a good skincare regimen if we're talking about prevention and treatment of maskne. And so just having a nice cleanser, a treatment, and then a sunscreen with moisturizer, that's kind of the basic, and that's what I like about the Proactive lines. And there's different kinds, different types. There's obviously the classic one where it's benzoyl peroxide base, and the one that I really love is a Proactive MD, which has adapalene. And I know that retinol is a huge topic as well, but adapalene is one of the synthetic retinols. And so in the past, adapalene is also different, and that's a trade name. This medication, this ingredient used to be only prescribed by dermatologists, by doctors, but now, I mean, it's really amazing that it's over the counter. You can buy it very cheap, different as well as now over the counter. And it's, and I know we'll talk about retinol. It's great for so many different things. So that's probably one of the number one ingredient that I encourage everyone to try to find a formulation that your skin likes. There's so many different types now. Adapalene is one. Retinol, retinaldehyde or retinol, retinol palmitate. Those are all potentially topical vitamin A derivative that does so much for the skin. And for maskne, it's incredible in really addressing the factors that cause breakout, which is the plugs. It's going to increase cell turnover and prevent plugs from happening. It will help with the scarring. It'll help with the discoloration. So I definitely recommend Proactive Different. The other product that I recommend for breakouts, Jan Marini Skin Research has an incredible product called Duality MD. This is a micronized retinoid plus micronized benzoyl peroxide. And so obviously the number one problem with the use of a retinol and benzoyl peroxide is the potential for irritation and sensitivity, right? So we always have to balance that out as dermatologists, and if you're using this at home, is you want the efficacy, but you also need to be able to tolerate it. And when you start using a retinol, you want to start off slow, maybe twice a week for about 2 weeks or so. And then if your skin is feeling, looking good, then you can move up to every evening. And so the Duality MD, we like it because, again, it's really perfect for adults who have breakouts and are also looking for anti-aging benefits.
So many great options here. And I remember using Differin when I was a teenager, and I had to get a prescription, and it was and it worked great. Are these good options for teenagers too, for those who have children here?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, data, studies are really showing that the earlier you get your teen started with your retinol, your benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid, glycolic acid, preventing the whiteheads and blackheads, the comedones from forming, they really have a good chance of even going through their puberty without really major acne. And I've seen that in my daughter. I have a almost 22-year-old daughter, and my husband and I both had a bad acne growing up, but she got started with her products like when she was like 12 or 13. She never really developed acne. So now our son, who's 14, is on the products too. You just have to, boys are different. You have to watch over them and remind them every night, but it definitely is helping.
That product was called Duality MD. We had that. Okay, Duality MD. Got it. I had a quick question. I'm so happy with how retinol has evolved into the cosmetic space, and people are understanding it, and we're seeing better formulations than what it was 5-10 years ago when it started getting out into the market. But now I'm seeing the newest trending product is, and I say this wrong, so I'm so sorry, is Tretinoin, and the use of that for anti-aging, but also for acne. In just a quick, help us understand, is that an ingredient that could be utilized for acne and anti-aging, or what is that ingredient really used for?
Okay, so I want to show you guys, I don't know if you can see this or if you can read it, because there's so many different types. Okay, so this is like an umbrella of what we call retinoid, right? And retinol, you see retinol is a form of a retinoid. That's the most common used in skincare products. You also, if you look at ingredient list, there's also retinol palmitate. Those are the two most common, and those have to be converted to retinoic acid. And the tretinoin that you're saying and isotretinoin, which is Accutane, are both retinoic acid. So they are already in the active form, there it is, in the active form that our skin really needs to, do what it's supposed to do. So tretinoin and isotretinoin are both prescription type of retinoids, whereas retinol and retinol palmitate or retinaldehyde tend to be over the counter. So the trend towards tretinoin is probably because it would be more, it would have a higher efficacy, but there's also a higher potential for sensitivity and irritation. We have patients. This is the reason why after a certain age, Retin-A micro, no longer covered by insurance, is because the insurance company figured out that people are using this not for acne when they're, but for anti-aging purposes. And so hopefully that explains it.
Beautifully. Explained beautifully.
Thank you, Dr. Tess. That was good for our, we have our Retinol 101 as one of our topics. And is retinol still, one of the leading ingredient for anti-aging, and what, is also in that category? What other ingredients do you recommend? Because, we could spend 5 hours on anti-aging alone, but love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. So I think as far as a dermatologist is concerned, retinol is one of the, tried and tested. Again, that whole category of retinoids, because it does so much. So in one cream that you're putting, whether you're using a retinol or a tretinoin, you're doing so much. So you are, increasing cell turnover. You're creating messengers in your skin to behave like it did when it was younger. You're treating pigmentation. You're looking at elasticity. You're looking at wrinkle reduction. You want plumper skin. So it's really multitasking in a way. It's very efficient. And then it also can help with acne, right? And so that's why I think, it's one of those ingredients that dermatologists love. And the advance in retinol and retinoid is really in the formulation, in that we're now being able to, optimize the efficacy while increasing tolerability. Actually, I also work with number 7 laboratories. Guys, if you want like over the counter, really inexpensive, but highly science-based products, number 7 is really great, which is why I decided to partner with them. They have this new retinol product, and it's their advanced retinol 1.5% complex. So this has 0.3% of pure retinol, but it also has retinol soother, which specifically tries to calm and soothe the skin. So it's like already assuming you're going to get irritation. So they're already put something in there to minimize that possibility. And there's also a delivery system that allows it to kind of not sit on the surface of your skin. So it's encapsulated, so it goes into where it needs to, and it doesn't create trouble on the surface of the skin. So these special delivery systems, even though it's still retinol, that's kind of how it's been modernized. And the way, now it's combined with humectants. Some of them are different formulations of retinol, have hyaluronic acid. Some of them have vitamin C in it. The Sabolol is an amazing anti-inflammatory product that is really, really popular. And some herbal extracts to really decrease the inflammation. And then I think you're also asking about what are my favorite anti-aging products. So I am huge in, I love the regenerative aesthetic space. And Alicia and I, we've worked on different actual in-clinic treatments to try to use our own body growth factors, regenerative stem cells, to take back take the skin to a younger state. And there's different topicals now that are trying to mimic what we can do in the clinic. And there are growth factors. So, exosome, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of exosome. If you go to a regenerative therapy conference, they'll lecture you about exosomes. And essentially exosomes are they act like intracellular mail. All of the cells are basically able to secrete these exosomes. These are tiny, about 30 to 100 microns. But they really can basically, deliver RNA, DNA, other types of proteins into cells, and they can be working in the healing and regenerative signaling process. And there's different types of, brands that use exosome. So I'm kind of looking out for that. Obviously, peptides are still huge. Number 7 has their own proprietary Matrixyl 3000 plus, which is one of the top peptides. And they actually mix that in with a lot of their products, even their sunscreen now. Their day cream has Matrixyl, so it's multitasking products. I think that's also kind of a new thing. And then, stem cells. There's a lot of products, obviously, that claim that they have stem cell capabilities. There's always questions about that. But I would say that most of them that say that they're stem cells, at the minimum, most likely have growth factor effects, which means that they're able to activate our skin's natural wound healing, repair, and regenerative systems. It may not truly be a stem cell effect, but definitely is more of a growth factor effect. Those are my favorite. The other thing that I love are antioxidants. In our clinic, we actually administer IV treatment of glutathione and vitamin C antioxidant. I know how many of you are familiar with glutathione. Yes, so glutathione, look out for it, because especially with COVID, everybody's trying to find ways to boost their immune system. Glutathione is really our master antioxidant. Our bodies, all of us are making it right now. Our livers are making it. But, with stress, with aging, the amount that we're making goes down and our need for it goes up. So we can boost it through an IV treatment in the clinic. There's top oral supplements with glutathione, vitamin C, other incredible antioxidants. And now there's topical products as well with glutathione and other antioxidants.
So, some amazing
Dr.
ingredients there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was going to say, so many ingredients so many ingredients that so many of us have used, we find in products, and I thank you so much for clarifying. It's really the formulation and the potency that get there. Now, with that, especially in your office, there's things you do you would not suggest at home, or to only be done by trained professionals. Mm-hmm. What would you say if you can name me 2 or 3 things that we should not be doing at home? Should we be doing at-home peels? Should we be doing microneedling? Should we be doing forms of deeper hydroquinone or skin bleach at home if not instructed by a professional? What would you say we should not do?
Okay, so I think this is a very important topic, especially now people have access to so many incredibly crazy things from the web. And I definitely have personally treated people who've been damaged, scarred by doing these trends. There's crazy TikTok trends and, things that are done. So I would say, there are, number 7 has a new at-home peel that's a 30% glycolic acid, and it's been highly tested, and it has anti-inflammatory agents in there so that you don't really see a peel. So it's not like your traditional thought of just applying just straight out acid on your face. I had one patient that actually tried TCA peel at home, and she was Asian, and she ended up being hyperpigmented from her face to her neck, and she burned herself. So I would say, besides trying those kind of tried and true and tested products from reputable brands like Number 7, I would really stay away from doing at-home chemical peels. Your skin, in peels in general, there's a lot of kind of uncertainty about doing that by yourself because you don't really know how deep you're going, the penetration of the acid. First of all, if you're just ordering it online, you don't even know what's really in that solution that you're applying on your skin. So I would say no to that. Microneedling, okay, it really depends. I don't think you can, unless you're going crazy and you're just like giant needles, I think you can do microneedling at home safely. Without topical numbing, you probably can only tolerate a very superficial microneedling anyway. So I think that would be safe, and then you can
Is
apply.
that like one of those rollers, Dr. Tess? Those little mini rollers that we're seeing?
Correct. So rollers with tiny little needles, it hurts. And I'm very sensitive to pain. Some people are better with pain. So like I said, you probably can only tolerate kind of a very superficial microneedling anyways, not to a point where you are creating pinpoint bleeding. So I think that's okay to do. It can be done safely. Hydroquinone. Hydroquinone is obviously a bleaching agent that's very popular, but in my clinic, I actually hardly ever prescribe hydroquinone. It's banned in Europe. It's banned in some states in the United States because it's been shown that it actually can cause cell toxicity and death. And short term, it's cool because you can lighten things, but if you're using it to treat, long-term sun damage, melasma, or things where you need to do maintenance, it's not a good option. And you can damage your skin permanently. And there are patients who've gotten a condition called ochronosis, where they actually permanently almost tattoo the skin with pigmentation because of hydroquinone misuse. And what else were you saying?
No, I think you hit it. I've definitely seen my clients, especially when I was in the Texas area, take these things that their dermatologist should be doing and do it themselves. I've seen multiple clients damage themselves with high percentage of hydroquinone and also improper laser treatment for sure.
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask about that, Johnny, because there's a lot of handheld laser. We originally met Dr. Tess for hair removal and then also for anti-aging. So how do you feel about the at-home handheld laser hair removal and anti-aging devices?
Okay, so there are at-home laser devices, hair removal devices, anti-aging devices that are effective. Obviously, they're not going to be as effective as what we can do in the clinic, but you really just have to adhere to, their instructions. So there are certain skin types that should never really use any at-home, laser devices. Many of these at-home laser treatments have a skin sensor to make sure that your skin is not too dark for at-home laser treatments. Obviously, in the clinic, we can assess your skin and we can adjust the setting, adjust the passes, so we can keep it safe for all skin types. But the thing about at-home devices is there's always, especially if they've gone through the proper route through the FDA and everything, a balance between efficacy and safety. And when you're just handing it to everybody, the general public, and you assume that they're not going to use it as directed, so usually the power's turned down, so you're not going to get the same kind of efficacy. So don't expect that you can duplicate what you're seeing in your dermatologist's office, with at home.
Tell me if this sounds about right. If you are not an esthetician with a license, with many hours under your belt, you should probably not be doing invasive things at home. things like deeper peels that you bought on the skincare black market, because believe it or not, we are seeing I'm seeing so many people get damaged by buying aesthetic grade products, which you do need a license for, but the internet, has loopholes. Things like that, deeper micro needling. And then we should focus at home in those, getting that regimen there and doing non-invasive things like facial rollers, just getting massage. Okay, facial rollers, not the needles, but like jade rollers, that's okay because it just helps blood flow stimulation. Even things like dermaplaning, as long as it's not being extremely invasive. And then when it comes to those aesthetic things, let's talk to Dr. Tess in San Diego and her estheticians, right?
100% agree. Also, it's some people, they do it because they want to save money. And let me just say that, reversing the damage can be so costly, and we may never even get you back to where you used to be. And so it's always best to just do it right. And, I tell people, okay, save money on buying, clothes on sale or shoes on sale, but you really only have one face. And once it's damaged, sometimes we can't bring you back. And, it's tragic because like I said, I've seen them in the clinic. They feel so bad. They really regret it. And then they end up spending a lot more money than they planned for. And nowadays we have incredible skincare technology that if you're just patient and you really are diligent and doing it, you really can make a huge impact on your skin, and you can do that safely.
On that note, Dr. Tess, and this is so important, so thank you for sharing, because you're right, some people want to skimp, but you really don't want to do that when it comes to your own skincare. What in the aesthetic space are you excited about? Again, we're talking about in-office dermatologist guided appointments. But what, there's Botox, obviously, fillers. What are you very excited about that you're seeing the pike or that's recently been introduced?
Well, we were talking about it, Alicia, and there's Quo. Cellulite, I'd say every woman probably has cellulite. And it's not, it's one of those things that's physiologic, right? It's very common, and the quest to treat cellulite, I think, goes on, and Quo, it really gives us hope. This is the first FDA-approved injectable treatment to actually break down the fibrous bands, what we call fibrous septa, that separates kind of like the fat compartments, in the thighs, anywhere where you get cellulite in our thighs, because I have cellulite as well. And essentially, it's a collagenase. So it's an enzyme that breaks down and specifically breaks down collagen 1 and 3, the type that makes up the fibrous septa in cellulite. And in the studies that were done, in 3 sessions, 3 weeks apart each, they got really great results, and they're saying that this could be more of a permanent solution, because even some of the more surgical treatments and laser treatments, they're questioning how long the results last. And so where I'm kind of equating this to the Kybella, how Kybella, as far as fat lipolysis, non-surgical, before, if you had a double chin, the only solution to that would be to go in and have liposuction. Kybella is also an enzyme that is specific to break down fat. And now, no problem. You come in, you just have injection, you have some swelling, a little bit of induration and hardness in the area for a few weeks, but it does really work, and it's a permanent reduction of fat. So we're hoping that Quo will be that, that magic injection that actually will work, so we don't have to go through invasive procedures to address grade 2 to grade 3, more of the severe types of cellulite.
And it'll just be an injection, and will there be any downtime at all afterwards?
Well, it really depends on the patient's probably tolerability. There will be some swelling because it's an enzymatic reaction. There'll be some swelling in the area. You probably will get bruising because these are injections. But I don't imagine that it's gonna put you out of commission as much because the areas that we're dealing with are not visible to people. So most of the time, women especially will be able to handle pain.
Men are not into this, right?
Men need it too.
Yeah, men.
Well, some men do have cellulite, so absolutely, if you have cellulite, you definitely are a candidate for Quo.
Would this
Johnny,
be
I
pure?
know you had a good question too for Dr. Tess about aesthetics and injectables.
Yes, definitely. But one question I had really quick in the chat function too is, this is purely for leg cellulite. Would this be utilized anywhere else on the body? Tummy, love handles, bra, underarm, bra area. Is that used for this particular treatment going to be used for the rest of the body or purely for cellulite?
Well, so Quo is a collagenase. So it's not the same as Kybella. It's not going to reduce fat. It doesn't target fat at all. That's not the mechanism of how it improves cellulite. The concept is that you have these pockets of fat, but in between them, you have these tethering posts of fibrous bands. And so that as you get older, that kind of tightens up, or you get more of this band, you get a thicker band, and then you get these outpouching, and then the dimpling. So the surgical solution is you go in there, and that's sulfina. You go in with like these kind of like knives that cut those, physically cut the fibrous band, and then the dimpling is resolved. So with Quo, you're injecting the dimples, and then you're going to try to melt those bands, and then the dimples, should get better because you don't have that tethering anymore. So it's not a treatment for fat, but I can imagine in certain conditions where we have extra collagen that we want to address, like maybe lumpiness after liposuction is what I'm thinking about, because that is basically fibrous tissue that's there. So scars, I think it's going to be off-label uses, but more creative, pioneering doctors, I'm sure, are gonna try to use it for other things.
Beautiful. So I have one question, and then we'll finish up with questions if there's any more from Alicia, and then we'll open up the lines. There's a few questions in the chat. So all of our experts, if you have questions, we'll get to some of them, but throw them in the chat function, okay? So my question I had is, say we have so many people out there who maybe are estheticians or hairstylists or makeup artists on this call. We have people who've been in the skincare industry forever, but have never been to the cosmetic surgery side, or the deeper aesthetic side, medical aesthetic side. So if we wanted to go into your facility, and maybe we're interested in some of the deeper treatments, like laser liposuction, like fillers, like Botox, any of those, how would you approach a consultation? How would you approach starting into a different beauty journey that deals with things past skincare, injectables, and deeper treatments?
Sure. So, at M Beauty Clinic, we really do it as an educational type of experience for the patient. So we offer free consultations, but really when patients go to us for consultation, we obviously want to know what is their concerns. And then our role would be to educate them as far as what are the options available to address that problem. Because again, the goal for us is to create solutions, so that they can achieve their aesthetic goals. And so whether that is, okay, you come in and you're worried about your 11th tier or forehead lines or under eye bags, we're going to educate you what's available. And many times, because I do a lot of cutting edge technology that even other physicians are not aware of, it's really a fascinating, and patients really find it cool, sort of like this, because then it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know that you can remove my double chin with just injection, and I was thinking I needed liposuction. And so it's really an educational, non-threatening, there's no obligation to buy, and our goal is really just to empower our patients with information. I really tell people, you don't have to go to us to have your procedures, but please allow us to give you the information. And then once we give the options, then we also provide a quote for everything we talked about. So it's upfront. They know what it is. There's no surprises. And then, then they can prioritize. Obviously, everybody, if funds were unlimited, you'd want everything. But so it also helps them prioritize what will give them the biggest bang for their buck for what they are looking for. And so we can create combination procedures and a plan of action, not just in the near future, but also looking forward. And we do look at it as a partnership. I'm very fortunate. I've been in practice now for almost 20 years. And many of my patients really become like family. We have a very good relationship. We become friends, and it's really through the years. And they've seen me as well. I'm 50 this year, and they've seen me when I was.
You look amazing.
Thank you. They've seen me from when I was like in my late 30s, and so they've seen my anti-aging journey as well. And they're like, well, Dr. Tess practices what she preaches. I want that. And so I think that also gives a lot of, integrity to what we do and what we believe in.
We have so many questions, Dr. Tess, and we didn't get to every topic. The last one that I wanted to ask you from our community is, we're in these cold winter months, how to keep skin moist. Also, whether you're in elevation or you're in the desert. I mean, we're talking about different climates here, but what should we do when our skin is so parched and dry and leathery feeling right now?
Absolutely. So the rescue, let me just start with how to rescue dry, cracked, parched, even, if you already have some cuts, and hands are really suffering right now because we're having to wash our hands so much. So how to rescue it in the evening. So if you're not going to go to your dermatologist, buy like a hydrocortisone cream, apply it on your skin, and then put a generous amount of Aquaphor or Vaseline, and then wrap your hands or whatever area it is, if it's your elbow, if it's your knees, with a plastic wrap, and then sleep with that. That basically it's all of that anti-inflammatory moisturization is occluded, and overnight it's an incredible type of intense treatment. And you may need to do that for consecutive days, but it's like magic. It really can heal the area.
Actual plastic wrap.
Saran wrap. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So here, there's a hack that
Yeah.
So and then especially now, you really want to keep a moisturizer and not lotion. You want to really switch to creams or even the emollient type of, Aquaphor type of ointment type of moisturizers now. But that's a really good intense treatment. The other thing is trying to bring back humidity in your environment. I sleep with a humidifier. And it's huge for your skin, for your throat, for your hair, for your nasal passages. So important, especially with COVID. If your nasal passages are totally parched, you have tiny abrasions in there. The same thing that happens to your lips, right? And it's much easier for viruses to kind of sit there and then, take hold.
Is there a humidifier that you recommend?
Not necessarily, but humidifiers are great. We have them in most of the rooms of the house. The other thing is, before I go in the shower, I did this today. So I usually body brush, and that really activates your natural oils. Also improves your lymphatics. And then after I body brush, I apply a body oil, Neutrogena, like go to Costco, giant Neutrogena body oil. And I apply oil all over my body before I enter the shower. Okay, and then in the shower, there's a lot of now moisturizing body washes that have like, coconut oil, like shea oil, different types of moisturizing ingredients. So use that. You want to avoid scrubbing too much, maybe just areas like your underarms, where you sweat, but your hands, your arms, your legs, you don't need to scrub a lot because you can be stripping oil. And then immediately after, you want to apply a moisturizing cream. Again, lotions are pretty much useless in the wintertime. I hardly ever use lotion. So I go with cream, whether it's Cetaphil cream, CeraVe cream. These are really, really good brands to use. I also I'm going to use lotion. If you don't really like the cream, or if it's too thick for you, amlactin lotion, AMLACTIN, has lactic acid, is really a favorite for dermatologists. What else? Urea is a good ingredient as well, if you have like dried, cracked areas. And as far as ingredients to look for, hyaluronic acid is really great. Ceramide is an actual lipid that is part of our epidermis. And so CeraVe, that entire line is based on ceramide, and a lot of skincare lines now are incorporating that for moisture. Oatmeal, if you're not allergic to oats, oatmeal is awesome, has anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, properties. So it helps with dry, cracked, itchy skin. If you have eczema, oatmeal is great. And then the exfoliation, you would think that if you're dry, you don't need to exfoliate, but actually exfoliation is key. So the lactic acid, glycolic acid can help, and then apply your cream.
So much good takeaways here, Dr. Tess, and you've inspired many story ideas. So we will be talking to you much more for editorials. Another question Tanya has is, what do you think about microcurrent treatments for anti-aging? There's a lot of microcurrent devices that we, New Face, et cetera, that we can use at home. And then there are the in-office treatments. What are your thoughts?
Right, so microcurrent technology, it is legit. The science behind it is legit. I like to think of it more as it's good to complement other treatments. So you just have to really be realistic as far as what your skin is going to achieve with microcurrent technology. I think this is a type of at-home treatment that is safe to do. I don't think you're going to get into trouble doing a microcurrent treatment at home. And then if you're getting treatment in the clinic, it's a good adjunct to do that. And so I think it's a good technology. It's worth doing. It's worth trying. And for better results, I would say then you can combine it with other things in the clinic.
And Madeline wants your opinion on dermaplaning at home.
Okay, so dermaplaning, essentially you have this razor blade, and you're removing hair, but at the same time you're also exfoliating. And so it could be some people, they like the feeling of not having any peach fuzz, and they like that it's clean, your makeup goes on well. So there's a cosmetic benefit for some people who prefer that, but there's also an exfoliative property with that treatment. You just have to be careful. Again, if you're using glycolic acid products, you're doing your chemical peels, you're doing scrubs, and then you're dermaplaning, it may be too much. Or after dermaplaning, you may want to give your skin a break from any of the exfoliative products. Allow your epidermis to fully heal first and recover, and then you can start your products again.
We have to remember this way that you've inspired today. Less is more.
Yes, it really is.
there's so much out there. We go crazy and overindulge ourselves, and then we, have to deal with the yucky stuff that comes along with that sometimes. Not always.
Right.
Arabia. Oh,
It's fun to try new technologies, but maybe just space it out, like, okay, I'm doing dermaplaning right now, but I won't use my microneedling device. So don't pile things on top of each other, especially if you're doing it yourself. Here in our clinic, we pile things all the time, like we do combination treatments all the time, but you're under, supervision and expert guidance. It's different.
yeah, so that's such a good point and something that we all need to be reminded of. Arabia or Arabia, I'm not sure how to pronounce, but she asked about, with blemishes and pimples, whether or not you pop them yourself. Sometimes, even if you don't, there's some pigmentation after it's cleared. So how do you treat the hyperpigmentation without causing new breakouts to come?
So that's a great question. Depending on your skin type, there's, if you naturally tan, if you tan very easily, once you have a pimple, you can be assured almost 100%, even if you don't traumatize it, if you don't pop your zit, you're still going to have pigmentation. It's what we call post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. And it's very distressing because your acne is only there for like a week or two at most, but the pigment and the discoloration can be there for many months. So, using products that increase cell turnover and decrease inflammation. So your anti-acne products actually can be, if you're really diligent, can also help decrease the potential for pigmentation and also speed up the lightening of that discoloration. There's definitely some actual anti-blemish or anti-discoloration products out there. Proactive has a really good one. Number 7 has a really good one. They don't contain hydroquinone. Most of these products, I like to recommend them to patients because they don't contain hydroquinone. They contain other what we call tyrosinase inhibitor like azelaic acid, vitamin C, arbutin, kojic acid, those types of ingredients.
There are so many questions for acne, but I think we might have to just bring you back in a few months or so to answer those.
Yep. Elizabeth asked, though, Dr. Tess, and we'll let you go soon after because we know that you probably have some patients to see, some very lucky patients. What's a good retinol cream for acne sensitive skin? Is there a brand that you recommend?
Yeah, so the Duality MD, actually, I have very, very sensitive skin, and so if I can tolerate a product, it's really good for sensitive skin. But I would just say, so the Duality MD from Jan Marini, the number 7 one is really designed for it can be tolerated by people with sensitive skin. If you have extra sensitive skin, I would recommend just starting off once a week with a retinol and do that for at least 2 to 3 weeks, and then work yourself up to twice a week, 3 times a week on non-consecutive days. And there's also a method called the sandwich method. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, where you apply moisturizer first and then you put your retinol. So you're not putting retinol on bare skin where it's been kind of stripped off the oils and because you just washed your skin. So you put a moisturizer first, you put the retinol, and then you put the top sandwich with moisturizer. So that's another method.
Love that. I want to share your Instagram, Dr. Tess, because everybody, if they're not already, should be following you, and we'll type it in here as well for everyone. But it's Dr. Tess Mauricio, right?
Yep, that's it. At Dr. Tess Mauricio. Our website is mbeautyclinic.com. Lots of information, lots of videos, and
I'm typing that in too for everybody. We are so blessed and grateful to have had this time with you. We are definitely, as Johnny recommended, having a follow-up because as we said earlier, each topic could hold an hour easily. And we want to thank you for sharing your time and your expertise and all of your incredible wealth of knowledge with us.
Well, it's my pleasure always. And, stay safe out there. If you guys have a chance to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. Continue to wear your mask, just wash them. and make sure, now more than ever, an incredible skincare regimen that is customized for your skin type is needed.